Hello there, greetings and many thanks for joining us on Rwanda Television News tonight. We do hope you had yourselves a great and productive midweek day or Wednesday, and now this is what is coming up on our edition. Rwanda and Zambia have committed to work together to build a lasting peace and make practical use of the good relations between the two countries for the benefits of the citizens of both countries. The Rwanda and Zambian heads of state demonstrates that the African continent and African countries in general are to take the first step to cut off challenges hindering trans-border movements for the continued development of the continent. It's my great pleasure having your company tonight, and now news in details. Rwanda and Zambia have committed to working together to build lasting peace and make practical use of the good relations between the two countries for the benefit of their citizens. President Paul Kagame and his Zambian counterpart, His Excellency Hakainde Hichilema, reaffirmed the desire on Wednesday, on the second day of President Hichilema's state visit to Rwanda. We have the details. Addressing a press conference at Village Rugwiro on Wednesday, the two heads of state emphasized the eagerness to promote trade and cooperation between Rwandans and Zambians, countries that have a large population of young people, just like the rest of the African continent. President Paul Kagame highlighted peace and security as strong pillars to the socio-economic development of the people of both nations.
The President and I have had productive discussions over the years. Rwanda and Zambia have forged strong bilateral relations, and we have made good progress in the implementation of several partnership agreements. Despite the recent global shocks that have impacted Africa's economies, we continue to find ways to sustain our gains and support our citizens to navigate ongoing economic challenges. Both Rwanda and Zambia have a relatively young population that is full of energy and talent. We want to work together with the rest of the continent, as well our partners, to invest in these young people in order to ensure a more secure, sustainable, and innovative Africa.
Echoing the remarks made by President Paul Kagame, His Excellency Hakainde Hichilema urged the citizens of both countries not to take the peace they have for granted, but rather preserve it as a catalyst to everything else they do.
We also have, for the media, for the public, been working together. We want to enhance that part, as the President said, of keeping our countries safe, keeping our regions, continents safe, keeping our world safe, secure, stable, so we can focus on the developmental ticket. And we're very pleased to indicate that we, as brotherly countries, sisterly countries, take your pick, whether we're sisters or brothers, we are everything, would enhance our cooperation in that area. And it's a necessary ingredient, colleagues, to achieve our objectives at the economic, social level. That, to many people, I say, we take for granted that we can have a press briefing here in an environment of peace. We take that for granted. It is not true that this peace is there because it's there. It is there because people have worked to make it peaceful. And so we would like to share, again, the experiences.
To make tangible use of the existing good bilateral cooperation, the Zambian president called on officials of both countries to consistently work together on matters of mutual interest.
I must say, Mr. President, since I took office 21 months ago, you are one of the presidents we have interacted quite often, meeting in different platforms, chatting, same hymn sheet, and I'm very grateful that we are here today formally to have this conversation.
Rwanda and Zambia enjoy strong bilateral cooperation. The two countries are part of the African Union, the Commonwealth of Nations, and the Common Market for East and Southern Africa, COMESA, that is currently chaired by President Hakainde Hichilema. The Rwanda and Zambian heads of state demonstrates that the African countries are to take the first step to cut off challenges hindering the trans-border movement for the continued growth and development of the continent. The remarks were made on Wednesday at Village Rugiro in a press briefing. Prince Manzi.
The press conference took place shortly after the tete-a-tete discussions. One of the topics tackled on include the challenges still hindering the African freedom, especially in trade and intra-collaboration. The 2018 statistics demonstrate that Africa contributed 2.6% in the global trade from 0.2% recorded in 2017. These statistics also demonstrate that trade between African countries is still on a 16.1%, worth $159.1 billion, compared to 15.5% in 2017. These rates are lower if compared with the economies and the number of African countries. Meanwhile, the intra-trade between European countries is on a 60 to 75% rate. On Asia, the rates of intra-trade are above 50%. According to President Hakainde Hichilema, trade between African countries should not require a third party.
For what? To basically help improve our economies, African economies, including the benefits that will flow to people, jobs, business, supply chain, value addition, all of that stuff. And the realization that Africa cannot be trading with each other through third parties. And this is a tendency on our continent. Before President Kagame to come to Rwanda would have had to go to maybe Dubai and then fly to Rwanda. So we want to clean up these distortions. Direct flights, road network, rail. In fact, I was talking to the EU yesterday in Lusaka. My last meeting was with the EU to talk about the Africa infrastructure gateway, Africa gateway, to look at more than just one type. So it's technology, communication, it's roads, it's railways. So we can move goods. For example, in Zambia, we have a surplus in food. One of the few countries we have surplus in food, but we can't move it to Central African Republic. We can't easily at a fair price. So these are the issues.
On the other hand, African countries continue to establish various measurements with the aim of addressing these challenges through establishing regional economic communities, the African Free Trade Area, among others. To President Hakainde Hichilema, without collaboration and jointly working together, Africa cannot meet its goals.
The best integration is one which delivers benefits to all the participants, not to one or two only. Because in the end, people start complaining. Those where the benefits are not flowing, they start seeing no value. And I think that's the challenge now we have, the technical inputs to structure this thing properly. I'm sure you're aware that we are talking about an Africa clearinghouse, financial clearinghouse. We don't have to go through to Manhattan in order to do a transaction between Rwanda and Zambia.
Contributing to this, Rwanda has done a lot, including visa exemption on Africans and other continent citizens coming in Rwanda. The President of the Republic of Rwanda, His Excellency Paul Kagame, reiterates that this is for easing movements, and it would have done a long time ago.
What is it that stopped us doing that, say, 10, 15 years ago? So we need to think about that. Because it could have happened 10 years ago, could have happened 15 years ago. So there are other things we have to do, but they all stand on the political will of our countries in our continent and leaders, addressing some of these issues that would enable us to achieve that if, and I think it is important.
The challenges still hindering the African countries lie mostly in the policies in place blocking trans-border movements and again on the visa issue. And on this issue, the President of the Republic states that this is the time for the visa issue to be history.
I think we should be arriving at no visa required and you just travel. As we resolve all these other issues, I mean, you are aware, when I talked of Africa Continental Free Trade Area, there are still inconveniences or restrictions. Really what Africa Continental Free Trade Area meant was that ease and freedom of movement. It's happening. It's slow.
The heads of state demonstrate that this is the time for the regional economic communities on African continent to draw closer towards the unifying of the continent. Prince Manzi, RwandaTV News.
Thank you, Prince. Moving ahead, President Hakainde Hichilema noted that African countries need to understand the role of African Continental Free Trade Area agreements in the development of business and economy on the continent. Adam Squizera with more.
On a panel discussion on the inclusive access to capital, President Hakainde Hichilema, who is now chairing the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa COMESA, highlighted some of the pillars, including advanced understanding on the role of the African Continental Free Trade Area as one of the factors for the development of the trade and competitiveness on the continent.
I think need to understand that the basis upon which COMESA was created was to grow the market, to basically be able to invest, trade with each other in a significant way. And then on that basis, I think the coming in of the Africa Free Trade Area is a building block, a further building block to that. I say that because once we accept that premise, then we will understand the importance of allowing the growth of fintech in the sense, and other businesses, by the way, and accept that if that's a premise we agree with, why we created ourselves, then we need to support this growth of the market.
Facilitating investment, mainly based on the establishment of financial regulations and policies on the continent, was pointed out as one of the major support for the development of business based on technology that Africa needs, as pointed out by the President Hichilema.
Policy to support this growth agenda. And it cannot be based on singular jurisdictions, countries. It must be based on cross-country, regions, the continent. Very important. You can't have governments working in this direction and the entrepreneurs in the other direction. It is important that governments work together with the private sector.
Currently, on the African continent, there are 57% of people who are unbanked, which contributes to the increase of the number of people who don't use financial technology. This is why President Paul Kagame calls on the African countries for the partnership in the development of the inclusive financial sector.
Still, compared to the rest of the world, Africa has produced a small number of unicorns, and the majority of transactions remain cash-based. To sustain the gains already made, we must forge stronger partnerships and build a more equitable, accessible, and sustainable fintech ecosystem.
The African fintech sector secured $1.5 billion in funding for 2022, which is a 39.3% increase comparing to the previous year. Adams Kwizera, RwandaTV News.
Thank you, Adam Squizera, for the report. And moving ahead, still on the FinTech Forum, or the Inclusive FinTech Forum, First Lady Jeannette Kagame attended the FinTech Forum on the meeting that was meant to talk about or assess the women in FinTech. As it was indicated, women in FinTech are still very few, especially in the financial sectors. And First Lady Jeannette Kagame indicated that increasing the number of women in financial sectors and the FinTech in general is one of the issues that can help in closing the gap and achieving inclusivity in general.
I share your conviction that FinTech can bridge the existing gaps in financial inclusion, even more so with AI revolutionizing the worlds of finance, technology, and a number of other industries central to our development. FinTech can and will spur economic growth and financial stability for our continent's skilled, youthful communities in line with global frameworks for sustainable development. Rwanda has taken encouraging steps in gender mainstreaming, gender-responsive budgeting, and ensuring female representation at all levels of leadership. But of course, this isn't enough. Financial backing for women-led FinTech solutions must carry strong, compelling incentives, not because women are in need of assistance, but because equality is their legitimate right.
First Lady Jeannette Kagame further reiterated that women should not be excluded when it comes to financial services as well as technology.
I wish to repeat this by limiting the space for women in finance and technology. We are not just failing women, but we are failing everyone. So I ask of the women, before me to say no to a few things. No to thinking of yourself as a guest in a male space. No to imposter syndrome and doubting your equal ability to perform or to become the next exciting big development in FinTech. No to considering your gender and a handicap in your field, but rather understanding that the mentality that discriminates against you is the burden to FinTech.
Moving ahead, President Paul Kagame and his Zambian counterpart, President Hakainde Hichilema, told the participants of the Inclusive FinTech Forum that the two countries are working to make sure that technology is developed in the two countries and the users increase in number. We have more with Prince Manzi.
The heads of state participated in the second day of the Inclusive FinTech Forum. The Managing Director of the Monetary Authority of Singapore, Ravi Menon, told the participants that cooperation is important in realizing technology-powered socio-economic development.
Connectivity and collaboration. The full potential of FinTech can only be realized if our systems are interconnected across borders and there is active public-private partnership and collaboration to drive innovation. Let me give two examples. One, cross-border payments connectivity. It is not enough that we can pay one another digitally within our countries, be it for migrant workers or students or small and medium enterprises. It is the ability to send money across borders cheaper, faster, and more securely that really matters for efficiency and productivity. Singapore, we successfully connected our instant payment infrastructure, PayNow, to Thailand's PromptPay, and more recently to India's Unified Payment Interface, or UPI. We hope one day we can connect also with countries here in Africa, including Rwanda. Two,
the Zambian President, Hakainde Hichilema, who is in Rwanda for a state visit, commended the FinTech Forum organizers and demonstrated his will in easing technology accessibility.
Lastly, I want to emphasize to the organizers how appreciative we are to be part of this forum, but also as a public worker, as your servant, so is President Kagame, and the ministers that are here. Doesn't matter which country you come from, regulators that are here, it doesn't matter where you come from. We want to confirm, and I'm being naughty here because I didn't consult President Kagame, but we want to confirm that. We want to confirm our support for this agenda. We want to confirm our support for this agenda.
The President of the Republic of Rwanda, His Excellency Paul Kagame, reiterates that there is a remarkable step made in the introduction of technology in financial institutions in Rwanda, but added that there is a lot needed to be done on the African continent as a whole.
Fintechs are accelerating Africa's digital transformation, and the impact is evident. Across the continent, more jobs, wealth, and opportunities are being created. At the helm of Africa's fintech industry is a young and rapidly growing population ready to innovate solutions and drive financial inclusion. Africa's demographic dividend has not gone unnoticed by investors who, in recent years, have increased financing to African fintechs. Still, compared to the rest of the world, Africa has produced a small number of unicorns, and the majority of transactions remain cash-based. To sustain the gains already made, we must forge stronger partnerships and build a more equitable, accessible, and sustainable fintech ecosystem. The digital economy is not a zero-sum game. Everyone should benefit from its potential. That's why we must do more to ensure women are active participants in the fintech space.
The Inclusive Fintech Forum was participated in by more than 2,000 delegates from across the globe. Prince Manzi, RwandaTV News.
Thank you, Prince Manzi, for the report. We'll still proceed it off with the FinTech Forum. During the exhibition of various FinTech companies that attended the three-day Inclusive FinTech Forum that is taking place in Kigali, Rwanda, both local and foreign investors of some FinTech companies expressed their choice to invest in Rwanda as it is because there are simplified procedures and that there are no bribes, as it is the case in other African countries, given that it is embracing its journey to digital transformation. Shina Teta with more.
In 2016, it is when Centrica, a Rwandan fintech company, was initiated, offering services of digital payments in about 10 public transport companies with help of Safari bus cards. And these cards can also be used to pay for goods in various grocery stores. Not only that, Centrica also initiated an online system of buying tickets for concerts and basketball games that happen in BK Arena. The chief executive officer of Centrica Fintech Company has it that the government has simplified procedures for individuals who want to invest in Rwanda.
Regarding taxes, the government has helped us in a way that taxes imposed on was low, and there are some other guidelines to remove the tax as means of support.
Notably, reflecting on the power given to fintech companies through licensing to promote financial technology for good, Bobson Rugamga, the CEO of MVend Company, explains how it enhances the performance of fintech companies.
Segment is the unserved and underserved, and what we do is we interact with these particular market segments and we build our products specific to their needs. So that is the unique value proposition, and that is why we're able to create value for the people that we serve. Well, for starters, the entire inclusive fintech journey, as you've talked about, as the conference that we've been attending highlights, is about making sure that no one is left behind. And the critical role that fintechs play is that we're able to serve the underserved, or we're able to build the technology that serves the people that traditional banking is not able to reach, and bridge that gap and get them included in the formal financial sector. When it comes to licensing, of course, there is the element where it validates what we are doing and gives our customers the confidence that the platforms that they're interacting with are legal and are operating above board, but also the license enables us to roll out new products to our customer segments. So for instance, we work with savings groups, village savings and loans associations, and what this license means is that now we are able to customize the wallet to the user and be able to give them more services, not just as a savings group, but these savings groups are made up of individuals. So we want to be able to impact the individual user of the savings group, just like we have been working to impact the savings group as a whole.
Pacific Mukaseti, the representative of Orchid Creation that operates in the European continent and in Rwanda, says they were surprised to have initiated such an organization without being bribed. My team was happy finding out that there were no bribes asked for the initiation of our organization, because they have been to some countries I don't want to mention and have been bribed. That has remained in their minds ever since. The digital analyst in the Ministry of ICT and Innovation, Angelo Munezero, explains that the government has invested in projects aiming at the distribution of internet all over the country, which has increased the number of those with access to fintech services from 48% in 2008 to 93% in 2020.
No gushyiraho icyo nakwita nka platform cyangwa se aho abo bantu bazana ibisubizo bahurira.
We are initiating a platform where solutions providers meet with government bodies to cooperate and evaluate services in Rwanda and be able to solve problems faced in neighboring countries.
Zikageragerezwa mu Rwanda ndetse noneho zikaba zabasha kujya gukemura ibibazo mu bindi bihugu duturanye.
During the first term of 2023, technology projects in Africa generated $857 million in fintech-oriented projects, are accounted for 69% of the generated revenue. Shina Teta, RTV News.
And this particular report sums up our tonight's edition, and on behalf of the entire news production as well as the technical team, many thanks for being with us. Up until next time, stay safe and have a great evening.